Welcome to the ninth edition of Next is Now, a Future of Farming podcast. I'm your host, Brian Brunson with GFL Ag, and my co-host, Dan Aberhart from Aberhart Ag Solutions.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us, Brian. What we do now has a big impact on what happens next for the future of farming, and that's why on this show, our motto is, Next is Now.
Dan, as usual, you are correct, sir.
Uh-huh.
We will continue to discuss and debate topics that make a difference to farmers' operations now. Again, I'll be asking questions because, I don't know all the ins and outs and the nuts and bolts of farming. I'm learning, and this show is helping. But it's my job at GFL Ag to try and understand what's happening in the world of agriculture and help you guys and gals produce better, hopefully with some of our solutions.
I love it. Big discussions, big debates to be had on this show and future episodes. And it's always fun to talk to somebody who's outside the perspective of agriculture to get that unique perspective that we in the fishbowl of the farming community don't always get the chance to look at. So I appreciate that about you. It's going to be a fun show, Brian.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you as well, Dan.
Such a warm beginning, such a warm and inviting beginning. So much love being shared
It's
here
that
today.
time of year.
It is that time of the year.
Well, today, Dan and I are curious about the topic of together for the holidays.
Yeah, it's really
what's going to. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's really all about being together for the holidays, and I think it's a really interesting topic for us in the farming community because it's probably one small time of the year where you actually feel like you shouldn't be looking out the window doing a project or working on something, or you can actually relax. And I think for farmers, we have lots of extended family that come home to the farm as a base. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Nice. I'd imagine in my ignorance on the farm, I always picture the holidays being like just awesome. You got snow on the farm. You got you're doing hay rides. People sitting by the fire, finally taking a break from all the hard work. That seems like Christmas is an exceptionally big holiday for a producer, I would imagine.
Unless your non-farming siblings are coming home for the holidays, then you're dreading it. Me and my sister will be descending upon the family holidays, and making the farming folks' life. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be wonderful. We're all going to be together. We all get along amazingly all of the time. We always did. We always will. But no, it is a great time, and I think it's a great time to celebrate. I'm looking forward to chatting about it. So on today's show, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm about to say, give us a little primer of what's going to be on today's show.
Yeah, what I did was I took a little bit of a unique perspective. I talked to quote unquote the stubborn farmer, Andy Caygeon Junkin. That segment's really about keeping everybody together for the holiday. Keeping a good family relationship so you can get together for the holidays and enjoy it. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a tough circumstance, but on the coffee row, I talked to our staff. Actually, got a little bit of behind the scenes. Was the angle that I took there. So I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
And in the community future, well, January is going to be a busy month. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that we're doing. So ho, ho, ho.
Well, it sounds like a packed show. So if you're passionate about agriculture, you want to stay ahead of the curve, then tune into Next is Now and get ready for some thought-provoking discussion, unbiased opinions, and a deep dive into Christmas or the future of farming.
Next is Now.
Well, Dan, what do you guys do on the Aberhart Ag farm for the holidays? I know there's got to be some traditions, some things going on. What do you guys do?
Well, typically these days we do all get together, but I was really thinking about the generational implications of the holidays. And there's 8 non-farming siblings in my dad's generation, right? So all those folks, we used to rotate. We used to go to my aunts and my uncles and all have, big holiday get-togethers and exchange gifts and stuff like that. At one point, we were all at the Holiday Inn banquet room. We rented the whole thing, had a big buffet, had just a plethora of gifts under the tree, get a little liquored up
Yeah,
responsibly.
little social lubrication. I get it.
Yeah, you gotta grease the wheels a bit there, but it was wonderful, and I think, when my grandma Aberhart was still alive, I think that was the big clue, and I was just thinking about what it would look like if we all got together in that same capacity. You can imagine eight Volga German, siblings went out into the world, didn't stay on the farm, reproduced like bunny rabbits, and then really there's lots of grandkids and whatnot. But I was just thinking of what a crazy prospect it would be to get everybody together again, and it's really that next generation, I think, that fallen off the cracker a little bit, but it's just nice to have a relatively small gathering. I know that often we would do a little bit of tobogganing in the creek, and now that there's actually a ski hill out close to us, or my sister-in-law, Terry's wife, she runs the Mississippi ski hill there pretty much, and sometimes we'll go skiing and stuff like that. But with the Aberharts, like I always find, you know, just like Brandon's a nice 2 hours from the farm, I find like a meal and perhaps an overnight is nice. Although this year I might be out there a little bit longer. But generally Boxing Day we get together, and my brother's wife, their family, they do things together. And but yeah, Christmas is a much smaller affair. I think our big challenge as Aberhart, the male side of the family, is not sitting around and talking business.
Right.
That's our big
Yeah.
goal, and that's our challenge. It never really works out. And then there's generally that, whoa, you guys always talk business. You're kind of sitting there and it's family time. But it's when I guess work
It's
is
hard to
your
turn it
life.
off.
When work, and then that's sort of my conversation piece with my dad. He has some hobbies now and stuff like that, but really it's all about the farm and stuff like that. So but I think we're really fortunate with the ability to get together as a family with two non-farming siblings, and it's really good. So, but I'm wondering, like in Texas, how do you guys celebrate the holidays? Because Santa's coming down the chimney, but he's probably practically shirtless at that point, given the Texas weather, and being so acclimatized to super cold, like polar frozen vistas and temperatures. I mean, he's probably just sweating it
Well,
out getting down your chimney.
you would think, but lately, and not to ire or ruffle any feathers on the left or the right side of the world, maybe with global warming, things have changed because it's been a little bit colder. We've had snow on Christmas past couple of years. I mean, it doesn't last long, doesn't accumulate, but it's there. We might, and
Yeah.
we might even get a day of sleet or frozen, freezing rain here in Texas. Which even when it just rains regularly here in Texas, it pretty much shuts down the city in Dallas. So that's it. It gets rough. We're not used to it, but I mean, Texas. I mean, it's a big holiday here, just like it is everywhere else in the U.S. And we get family together, and we do. Some of the traditional foods, maybe not traditional up in Canada, but I think fairly similar. We'll do a turkey, we'll do a ham,
Hmm.
all the fixings on the side. Do you guys do stuffing up there?
Big stuffing people. Yeah, love stuffing.
Yeah, yeah, they love stuffing too. So yeah, I mean, it's fairly similar. Actually, this year though, I will be in Alberta,
Are you?
in Calgary.
Sweet,
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
You're getting together at
We're going to
Bob's?
be up north with Yeah, we're going to be up north with the relatives, and I'll bring my folks up with us too. So we'll have the whole family up there. So it should be a good, nice family Christmas. Hopefully, we don't get tired of each other. Nobody kills anybody, and the boys the boys behave. So yeah, we're excited.
Well, that can be a challenge too, when you're getting together for the holidays, and if there are challenges with the family, and I don't want to go too Hallmark moment, but I think it's important to recognize that the holidays can be a pretty tough time for some folks. And if whatever it is you're going through, maybe you lost a loved one, maybe you're estranged from non-farming siblings because you fought over the inheritance, you know which is,
Yeah,
we're trying to avoid actively through lots of different things, because there's so
right.
much money involved. And um maybe who knows what the situation is, but holidays, like I think normally for the farming community, we just put our head down and go to work, whatever the challenges we have. But at Christmas, it can really be highlighted if you're alone, or if there's people that aren't there that you wish were there.
Yeah.
And that's really what inspired me to include Andy Caygeon Junkin in this conversation, who's a coach who helps folks try and keep the family farm together. And it's really crazy. It's ironic that the odds of successfully handing down the farm through the generations, statistically, is about as high as a third marriage. 15 to 20%
Really?
success rate. So it's kind of like you know smoking a cigar with a 80% chance of exploding, just hoping without a strategy isn't gonna burn your face off.
Right.
So this is a real thing.
That's surprising to me. Yeah.
Well, you think about
No.
all the money involved, and you think about all the complexities, and I hope everybody has a great Christmas with everybody together. But if not, we recognize you. We salute you for your bravery and your courage. It's not always easy, and I appreciate the work that Andy's doing, because he really wanted to come on our Growing the Future podcast again. He reached out to me because he's come up with a new book about getting past being really stubborn, which is such a great trait. When you're coming over in your wagon and breaking the land, and suffering through wolves and frozen toes, and drought and hail, and Canadian wheat board, or whatever you had to get through in the early days of farming. But now it's so much about people skills, and building that team feeling, making everybody recognize, seen, and heard. And sometimes it doesn't always go your way, but Andy has a way of coming in there, coaching folks to stay together, so you can be, the generations to come can still be meeting and having an old fashioned at Christmas, and singing carols, and the assets only serve to enhance the family relationships. And I know when we started our business, it was all about, the number one thing was, hey, we gotta, like, our number one core value that we wrote down was family. And it wasn't just about having that family feel to a company. I think that's like an easy, fun keyword you can throw around, gratuitously. But it was actually quite functional, because if I had never really been in business with my dad and my brother to that point, but the impetus was, if we can't get together as family, like, we can't really have a functioning business. So that's got to be number one, to protect that. And it should, the company or the farm or whatever, that asset should serve to enhance Christmas, should serve to make holidays better. And I think, very lucky that I have that with my brother and my dad. My dad's no longer a shareholder in the business, but really, luckily, no qualms about heading home, and wondering about if we're gonna have fisticuffs after a couple shots of hard alcohol, or anything. If something sensitive
Well,
comes up, you're not choking anybody under the Christmas tree.
well, it's kind of funny when you say that, because if you think about it, your guys' family, you got a big family,
Yeah,
but I think families are tending to be
yeah,
smaller these days. And so, I look at my own family. My folks both come from big families. They're both one of 10 brothers and sisters on each
yeah.
side. So huge family. But them in the South here in the U.S., they tend to be pretty tight. They're all still really tight. They don't fight at Christmas. They don't, because they really they were pretty much all they had with each other back then. So it's always great to see when those guys get together. It's pretty funny actually. There.
I bet.
But me, I'm kind of an anomaly, but I think it's becoming more and more regular. I'm an only child.
Oh,
So I
wow.
put that. I think of that in the context of, if you're a producer, got a successful farm, you have one kid, and that kid says, I'd rather be a influencer. I'm going to be a astronaut.
Should
I'm
be an
going to,
Instagram
you
star.
know,
Yeah,
yeah.
happens all the time.
I don't. I'd imagine that'd be pretty tough. Because what do you do then? You know.
Well, it can be. What I've observed a little bit in that regard is that I think over time people come to terms with it, and some people are just as happy to rent out the land and move to town and forget about it, have an auction sale
Yeah.
and go on and enjoy, like mom and dad, they're down in Arizona. And really, if Terry hadn't come home to the farm and really pushed Harvey to take on the challenge of just farming, because it was always his belief set prior to that you always had to work off the farm. So he would have stayed working off the farm somehow. Whether it's a mine or working, salesman at John Deere or whatever he was doing, he managed the John Deere dealership for a while. He was in crop insurance, but he always felt he had to work off the farm. And my brother convinced him to come home. So there's that dynamic. So he's still farming, and he could, just like Andy talks about, like in the old days, you couldn't physically farm past 50 or 60 because A, your body would be breaking down, and B, it was really physically intensive. And now you
Yeah.
can farm till you're 80, you can get your hip replaced, and you can sit there and hit the buttons on the new Lexion or Gleaner or Fendt or John Deere or New Holland, and it is all automated, and everything's automated. And you don't need the physical strength or stamina to farm like you used to. You need the mental stamina. But Dad
Hmm.
has that opportunity to continue to be involved, even with his grandkids. He has the opportunity to farm with multiple generations on the farm. But I think people come to accept maybe that the farm isn't going to be handed down, and they're okay with it because it offers them a totally different lifestyle at the end of the road, their twilight years. They can do whatever they want. But yeah, ultimately that must be a disappointment. And you talk to somebody like Andy. He was a Calvinist who was like, he had this predetermination that his ancestors died on this land, but he was so attached to the idea of farming, like it was his whole identity. And it's really interesting because I don't think everybody outside of agriculture really experiences that, where you're born into like a vocation essentially, where the default is that you would farm. And lots of times, because it's like a hereditary or a religious thing or like a social thing or some set of beliefs, where it's like you're so attached to that outcome of being a farmer that you can't imagine anything else. And for Andy, that's where he got to the point where things were sort of dysfunctional in his family, where his mom said, "You got to fix the finances on the farm or I'm going to divorce your father." And then he basically said, "Well, you guys got to let me farm or I'm going to hang myself." you you know? So he had to work through that. And that's how he became somebody who helps others through this process. But yeah, I'm telling you, like, you look at the statistics, it's really hard to hand down. Um, it's really hard to get along. It's sort of by default with family. I know that I left at an early age, relatively speaking, from the farm, and didn't farm, which shocked everybody in the community, given, my dad had a pretty reputable farm and operation at that point. But it just wasn't for me. Whereas for Terry, he would farm. He always maintained he would farm no matter what. And that if he had to, he would farm for somebody else because he loved the farming. So
Yeah.
um, it's hard to deal with those expectations sometimes when you're the oldest, and it's just assumed. The other reverse story of that is, I was the oldest. Technically, I'd be the one that would farm or be expected to farm the most, because in the old days, like on my grandpa Wilson's side, he was the youngest. So it automatically went to the oldest just by tradition. But at the same time, that, it wasn't necessarily that was the best fit, because I think grandpa always wanted to farm a lot more. And he was a plumber by trade and did very well, in business over time, lived a great life, but and was a great man. But he it's just one of those weird things where it's like, no, tradition says that the oldest inherits the farm. And frankly, I think my grandpa would have been a better fitter, loved it a lot more. And he always loved being involved, on his daughter's farm with his son-in-law, and helped out with a great many things. So it's not just the complexities of work you're navigating here, it's the complexities of families and personalities and expectations and all kinds of stuff. And again, that's why I hope that everybody can get together for the holidays. But if you can't, if you got some kind of loss or some kind of pain going into Christmas, like, I feel you. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I kind of want to hear what Andy has to say. You've said a few good things
Whet your
already,
appetite.
so I'm interested in seeing what his thoughts
Let's do
are
it.
on this.
Let me first of all address the fact that if you have a son and daughter that you're or mom and dad that you're struggling working with right now, if you can in the next year make everybody get the attitude within your family that everybody makes one improvement a month. Now, hopefully in a year's time, it's going to be a different family Christmas as a result. Because obviously, if you're butting heads every day and pulling farm in different directions, you got a lot of headaches, right? And that all comes out of Thanksgiving. I think that if you can get this cycle, next Christmas can be. I mean, it might be a bit tense this Thanksgiving or this Christmas, but if you can get this in place, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a train.
I like the light at the end of the tunnel. It's not a train. I mean, that's. Yeah,
he's full of them. He's full of wisdom.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's almost like anything in life, though. You got to take it in small increments and build on it. And if your family's butting heads like that, it's not going to change overnight, obviously. So,
well, I want to take this opportunity to say, Brian, like if you could do one small thing better in our relationship, this podcast next year at this time might be a lot better. Just, if you could improve your attitude.
That's going to be a real tough call there. I mean, the amount of anger that I feel towards this podcast is palpable.
I don't know. Can we get together for Christmas this year? Or did I get that almost like family?
I don't know. I will be closer to you than normal.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, Santa's, I'm sure, has got your coordinates.
Yeah. Well, put the GPS tracker, let you know where we are.
How they arrange that. I know that NORAD, has some visibility on that, but it still doesn't explain a lot of the intricacies of how, you get in, you get out, like you go down the chimney, you go up the chimney, you need to drink the eggnog.
See, that's a fallacy. That's a fallacy. See, back in the day, Santa did go down some chimneys because there was a lot of chimneys back in back in the early days. He had chimneys, but Santa's magical, and people live in condos. People live all over the places. He's had to evolve, man. And he's, you watched all these Marvel movies and you think these guys have powers. I mean, if you really think about it, Santa probably could handle all of them. I mean, he can pretty much do whatever he wants. He'll just appear right in front of your freaking tree, drop a gift, eat a cookie, out, not even gain a pound. And he'll do that. Was it where are we at now? What, 7 billion times? Boom. I mean, that dude is nigh invincible, unstoppable.
Yeah.
Santa's the man.
I think a lot of it's probably outsourced to the elves these days.
No.
Overseas.
He's a hands-on guy. I have to believe. He's like a farmer. He's sitting there like, I got to do it. I got to do it myself. Wow. It's the only way it's going to get done right.
You're very in tune with your Santa spirit animal there.
Yes, sir, man. I got 3 boys. It's still their favorite time of the year.
That's pretty cool. That's really exciting. How old are they?
13. Well, 14. My oldest just turned 14, but he's still a young 14. So he still likes to at least pretend to us that he believes.
Oh, wow.
And I got a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they're ready.
It'd be,
it's their favorite time of the year.
What would happen if nobody told you that Santa was maybe other than you thought as a child? I mean, we just don't want to go there.
Well, there's always, your kids are going to find out because they all will have that one classmate. We all do. It's kind of an a-hole that's like, he's not real, right? Just think about it. Let's do the math. There's always that kid in your class or in your friend group. So it's going to happen at some point. At some point, you got to choose to be like, all right, I'm going to at least pretend to believe, because it makes my parents happy.
Yeah, right on. Well, I talked to our staff a little bit about what they were doing. I was genuinely curious. I guess on that note too, I didn't mention, but probably what feels as much or more like Christmas than anything too is when we get together with all the extended family that's in our companies, right? We get the agronomy company together, we get the farm together. We get Aberhart Ag together. We get some of the landlords, right, that we rent land from, like anybody, third party folks, like anybody that we've done any business over the year, because I guess we're so business oriented a lot of the time. Don't have much of a life outside of business. Sometimes I think need to work on that. But yeah, it's just, you walk in there, the room's full of folks. I've actually had an offer to play some music to entertain this year with Afton Chabot, who's helps us with our marketing. She's an incredible singer. So and then I was thinking maybe I could get my daughter Eva likes to sing. She's quite good. And then who can sing really good too is Nicole. But she won't.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
While she's riding her Harley, she's
I
belting it
started
out.
working on her today, but she's like, no, I'm not really a public singer. But she told me very few people know how talented she is, which is a shame. So I'd love to.
Well, we're going to call you out, Nicole. Everybody knows now. You're a
you
talented singer,
got
and you
this,
got to do
Nicole.
it.
Yeah,
you can do it. We believe in you.
Let your inner Celine Dion shine.
Nice Canadian songstress pull. I like that.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Oh,
I'd love to see if you do that. If that does happen, you got to get footage.
I was thinking
Has to
that.
happen.
I was thinking that'd be a great, behind the scenes to share.
Yes. Well, I think we're in that part of the broadcast where we need to hear from our guests and some of the folks on Coffee Row.
Coffee Row. Okay, well, our first fabulous guest on Coffee Row this holiday episode is Cale Brown, my star employee in Alberta, who is actually part of the bigger tribe too. He's the son-in-law of our shareholder, so he has Christmas with Jeff Carlson, who's our shareholder, who bought our dad out. So I was joking that I might join them in Florida, where they normally get entertained.
Yeah, Florida is there's some beautiful places, especially on the Gulf side. I mean, it's white sand beaches and warm water, pretty nice. So, and the weather's outside of a killer hurricane every few years.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you got to contend with.
Yeah, besides the fact that all the limestone's going to seep into the ocean here eventually.
Or you might get eaten by an alligator. Besides all those things, it's great.
You might get into trouble in a nightclub in Miami.
Yeah, that's probably where the route I take there. Well, let's hear from your star employee, Cale.
Yeah.
We generally have family events around Christmas, like 24th, 25th, 26th, where we get together with all the extended family and kind of do a Christmas dinner and gift exchange and things like that. It's a big time for family. We try to get together with all the family members as much as possible. It's the one time, especially on the Brown side of the family, where everybody's around, because we've all kind of scattered all over the prairies here, Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan. So everyone tries to gather in one spot and get together. So that's the big thing there. And then we try to go to Florida. Jeff and Arlene like to take all the kids and try to spend a week down there at some point.
I'm wondering like what I'm getting for Christmas and like when I'm getting the plane ticket to go down there with them.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing I heard was right there at the end, Florida. I'm like, let's go.
I was just wondering what star employees would get their bosses for gifts for Christmas. I mean, the possibilities are endless, given my interests and my hobbies and my disposition.
Probably a $5 Tim Hortons gift card. Seems to be
probably probably some coal in a sock.
Who do we have next?
We have Graham. We had to cut him off because he was so prolific. Like he shared so much. We're like, this is too much. So Nicole's gracious enough to edit it down. Like it was probably a big process, but
well, let's hear from Graham.
We always have Christmas supper. That's tradition. We used to have huge family Christmases. People would all come to our house, have all the cousins in and everything.
So basically, you had to take a couple of snippets out of some dissertations and piece them together for a statement.
Yeah, and then we had like a 15-minute conversation on something totally different, which was really interesting. But I mean, not probably not related or appropriate content for the show. But I mean, man, a few words. This is why he excels at logistics, because everything's a shortcut. Like everything's done really fast, and just like he just he doesn't spend a lot of time. Like for me, if I talk to somebody and I'm trying to do logistics, probably end up having like a 20-minute conversation. For him, it's like 20 seconds. Escape. That's why people love him, and he's second to none in the business.
Logistics is an art form, that's for sure.
Well,
I think you need to send me Nicole's link.
How's that?
That is it.
Let's do it.
You should have used a picture of Nicole on her Harley, man. Anyway,
she chose the
that'll
picture.
work.
Christmas is starting to get fun for us because we have nieces now, and they're starting to get to the age where it's exciting. So it's bringing back a little bit of the Christmas magic for us on that side. Whether it's getting out in the community and helping with something community-wise during Christmas, or volunteering my time, or donating something, that's something that we like to do every year. We're big on donating toys to the toy drive or being Santa for seniors. I think it's important to make other people feel seen and important and heard during this time of year, because it's always a tough time of year.
That's very, very nice sentiment from Nicole. The funny thing was at the beginning, it's like Christmas is starting to get fun again.
Yeah, she wasn't.
Like, yeah.
I mean, you got to recognize for some people, it's not all just, some people dread it. I mean, you got to buy gifts. There's all these expectations. You got to get together with family. Maybe, not crazy about all your family. I mean, there's certain people, or maybe you've had, a loss or breakup or estrangement or whatever, or just whatever. You're just generally grumpy, like the
Yeah.
Grinch. But oh man, she warms my heart, and it's just she hits the Christmas spirit there too, where
Yeah.
it makes it about people that have less than us. And she was mentioning too, she didn't put it in the quote, I wish she did, but she was mentioning too how she's worked in the industry of assisted living, I guess it is. So it's like a
Yeah.
bridge between a care home and living on your own. That's where my
Mhm.
grandma Aberhart ended up. But some of these people don't even have anybody to come see them.
Yep.
They just, one guy wanted socks as a gift from her, because I mean that's where he's at in his life. Like he had nobody came to see him at Christmas.
Yeah, I mean it's like you said earlier. It's this time of year can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It could be a time of extreme joy or extreme sadness and loneliness, which is just amplified by what you see on TV, advertisements. You're supposed to feel this way. You're supposed to do this way, which both sides of the coin. It is, it's great. You got kids, you got your family, and they're excited. You're excited. That's great, and that's the magic of Christmas. But at the same time, you got to understand there's people that they don't have anybody. They don't. You got a guy at a home that's he might have outlived his family. Who knows?
Yeah.
And he's just kind of hanging on. And those people, it's a tough time of year. And I think all we can do is recognize that for them and try to offer them. They probably don't want our sympathy, but they just want, like she said, recognition. Like, hey, we see you, we understand, and if you want to talk or you want to be around, hey, we're here. So I think that's an important message in general for this holiday season.
Well, I think that Nicole's a hero to a lot of people, including me, and I'm very proud of her. And I could see her spreading the Christmas cheer like we should all be inspired to do. So proud of you, Nicole.
I'm going to need a picture of you on the pink motorcycle. Just saying. I know you got one. Well, Dan, can you tell us what's going on a little bit closer to home in our community segment, please, sir?
Well, we're just kind of at the finish line for this year. And, it's only November when we're recording this, but it's going to be December when it comes out. But the New Year's just around the corner. In January, we have a bunch of really cool trade shows we're going to be at. Love to see you, dear listener, at Crop Production Show in Saskatoon, January 9th to 11th. You can find us at Hall A, booth 38. And also, I'm even wearing it today. Oh, I'm mirrored here. I'm even wearing my Manitoba Ag Days vest. Love those folks. I was on the board for 4 years. Manitoba Ag Days is going to be in Brandon, Manitoba, January 16th, 17th, and 18th, booth 226 in the UCT Pavilion. It's going to be awesome. I mean, we just got done AgriTrade, which is really great show. It's really, I don't know, man. It's just seemed really good. Really great crowds and really great optimism. And
Good.
Alberta's just so vibrant, But doing Saskatoon in the beginning of January to mid-January, and doing Manitoba Ag Days. So it'll be a great kickoff to the year. I'm really excited about it. So we'd love to see you there and talk biosol.
Awesome. Well, that's the show for the day, man. Let's wrap this bad boy up with a few key takeaways in this holiday season. What do we think?
Well, we now know that if we have the proper technology, we can actually show our children that Santa's real, like on technology. I think that's
We can
keep it going longer
dupe them
with modern technology.
Yeah.
But hey, I feel really appreciative and really grateful, bringing the big jumbo jet into land here for year end. And I'm really looking forward to getting together with all my family and kids and just feeling really blessed. And I just want to remind everybody that the holidays are a really important time for us to reflect and be grateful and think of others that are less fortunate than ourselves. And whatever you're going through, man, we all have our stuff. So I hope that the holidays finds you surrounded by loved ones, with with a cold drink or a warm drink in your hand by the fireplace, singing carols. It's an awesome time, and we're very lucky here. We're very fortunate here. We're very fortunate here when you look at what's going around the world.
Agreed.
So.
Agreed. Couldn't have said it better myself. We're without sounding too sappy, I love you, Dan. And we love you folks out there, 2 or 3 folks that listen to us. We love you guys. And we wish you a happy holiday season. And if you're feeling blue, we hope you find something that'll keep you going. And then if you're happy, share that with some other people. So thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed Next Is Now. I'm Brian Brunson with Dan Aberhart. And join us next time as we start the new farming year. Looking forward to it, folks.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.